Dolly Parton has always been fairly open about her love and appreciation for the opposite sex, despite the fact she's been married to her husband, Carl Dean, for half a century. She's a flirt and not ashamed to admit it. Her openness about the subject has inevitably given rise to various rumors about affairs she's supposedly engaged in over the years, with everyone from Burt Reynolds to Sly Stallone and even her longtime friend and confidant, Judy Ogle. We'll address those rumors in a minute, so make sure you keep watching. Parton freely admits she loves to flirt and has said on more than one occasion she's never met a man she didn't like. The endless speculation about her love life only intensified when Dolly confessed to sharing a bed with her best friend and assistant, Judy. But it should be noted that the 74-year-old country legend claims that she's never been in a relationship with, nor has she ever desired to be with a woman sexually or romantically. She says the time she shared sleeping space with Judy was purely platonic. Open or closed? Dolly has described her marriage as open, but even though she refers to her relationship with Dean in those terms, she's quick to tell you the idea of getting physical with other people is off the table. Dolly admits men are her weakness. Throughout her life, she's often had crushes on many types of men. Doesn't matter what kind of physicality they have, she's attracted to people more so for what's on the inside. Parton told the Daily Mail that at the end of the day, her husband knows that she isn't hooking up with other people, and she's always coming home to him. He's fully aware she likes to flirt, and according to her, he's a bit of a flirt himself. But they're at a place in their relationship after years of building trust where they don't get jealous anymore. It is a little puzzling she refers to their relationship as being open, when in reality they aren't sleeping around with anyone. Parton says that if she ever suspected Carl of having sex with someone else, she'd probably kill him. She says he'd do the same to her if the tables were turned. But despite that intense rhetoric, they still love each other very deeply. An affair of the heart. In the early 80s, Dolly was left feeling suicidal when an affair of the heart, as she put it, ended in a very heartbreaking way. She discussed this event in her book, Dolly on Dolly. After the emotional fling she was in came to an end, she found herself sitting in her bedroom, staring at a loaded gun in the drawer of her bedside table. She stored it there just in case she ever had to defend herself from burglars, but on this occasion, she couldn't seem to keep her eyes off it. She stared at the firearm before picking it up. Moments after holding the weapon in her hands, her little dog Popeye came sprinting up the staircase. This jolted her out of the spell the handgun had cast on her. Suddenly she froze, put the gun down, dropped to her knees, and started praying. She was convinced Popeye was used by God to deliver a message, that her time was far from up and she still had plenty to accomplish. She couldn't wait to hop in his bed. There was one celebrity Dolly couldn't wait to get close to, the one and only Burt Reynolds. They had played lovers in The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and their on- and off-screen chemistry was undeniable. Pretty soon, rumors began to fly that they were secretly having an affair. Dolly fed into these rumors as well by stating she couldn't wait to jump into bed with him, in the movie that is, not in real life. Burt reciprocated those feelings by letting her know he was attracted to her too. He once joked that he had been working with her long enough that he eventually was even looking at her face, implying that his gaze had previously been directed towards another part of her anatomy. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like, and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already, and stick around to find out about Dolly and Carl's unique open marriage. Just because I'm a woman. It doesn't take a lot for Dolly Parton to feel inspired to write a new song. Throughout her decades-long career, she's never had that big of a problem with writer's block. A lot of her music springs forth from her colorful imagination, while other songs are based on actual things that happened to her in real life. A good example is Just Because I'm a Woman, which she was inspired to write after having a difficult conversation with her husband shortly after they got married. He was curious if she had ever been with anyone else. She hadn't previously volunteered that kind of information, but once they felt a little more comfortable with each other, he had finally worked up the courage to ask her. She wanted to be as honest and forthright as possible, especially since their marriage was fresh. So she told him the truth. She had indeed been with others before she found him. Carl didn't take the news well. At first, he felt crushed, and Dolly says in her book she felt like an outcast for a while. But then inspiration hit, and she felt compelled to pen a song about the situation. Just Because I'm a Woman is a song all about double standards between the sexes. Its lyrics came straight from her heart. They're essentially an intimate letter to her husband, explaining the fact that she's prone to mistakes just like anyone else. And just because she's been with someone else before doesn't mean she loves him any less. Eventually, Dean got over his hurt feelings and moved on. To this day, Just Because I'm a Woman is still one of the most popular songs Parton ever penned. When it debuted in 1968, it went straight to the top of the charts and stayed there for weeks. Inside Dolly's open marriage with Dean. Dolly Parton and Carl Dean tied the knot on May 30th, 1966. The two have been together ever since, despite the fact they don't appear to share much in common. Dean, a former asphalt contractor, has done his best to stay out of the spotlight, while Dolly thrives in it. She's created dozens of hit albums, starred in blockbuster movies, made countless TV appearances, and walked the red carpet on more than one occasion, while Carl has always seemed perfectly comfortable in the background. Dolly has always done her best to respect her reclusive husband's wishes to maintain his privacy even as she's grown more and more famous. Even though he hardly makes public appearances, he's always been very supportive of his wife's career, even when it drew unwanted attention in his direction. Even though their marriage might appear a bit unconventional, it survived so many hurdles and trials because of their mutual love and respect for each other. They met at a laundromat. It might not be the most romantic place in the world, but Dolly and Carl met in Nashville at a laundromat. It was the first day she spent in Nashville. She graduated the night before and had left 2 boyfriends back home. She wasn't looking for love, but that's how these kinds of things happen. Dean revealed in a 1984 interview that it was love at first sight on his end. His initial thought after laying his eyes on her was that she was the one he'd marry someday. Parton likewise felt an immediate attraction to Dean, although she wasn't looking for love at the time. She invited him to come visit her at her aunt and uncle's house where she was staying, and he proceeded to come by every day for a solid week. On their very first date, he took her to go meet his parents. That would have scared some girls off, but apparently not Dolly. Speculation and rumors. As we mentioned, Dean has taken great lengths to maintain his privacy. He knows that if he ever started doing interviews, people would start hounding him wherever he went. But because he's been so elusive and is rarely ever seen with Dolly, some have speculated that their relationship is just an elaborate ruse to cover up a supposed relationship between Dolly and her lifelong friend, Judy Ogle. Over the years, Dolly has relied heavily on Ogle, but she's repeatedly denied rumors that their relationship is anything more than platonic. She told Vanity Fair in 1991, point blank, she isn't her lover and never has been. She further stated that if she was in fact her lover, she wouldn't be ashamed of it. Their separate lives have strengthened their relationship. Dolly fully admits she and her husband have very little in common. She told People magazine in 2015 they're complete opposites, but that's what makes their relationship so fun. He's always surprising her, and they still make each other laugh after all these years. She even thinks their frequent separations have only strengthened their marriage. Even though Dean rarely accompanies his wife on tour, she's always eager to see him once she returns home. 54 years is a long time to be married, but after all this time, Dolly still says Dean is the love of her life. Sure, their union might be a little unorthodox, but if you ask us, it's one of the most beautiful love stories we've heard. What do you think about Dolly and Dean's open marriage? Do you think you could pull something similar off with your significant other? Or does it sound like something you wouldn't be into? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.